Hello everyone, my name is Shervin. In this video, I will be talking about Gradio. Gradio is the fastest way to demo a machine learning model, and it allows to create friendly, easy web UI, web interfaces for your machine project. To get started with Gradio, go into your search engine, can be Google or DuckDuckGo, Bing, Microsoft Bing, and search for Gradio. Then click on the link that says gradio.app. This will take you to the Gradio landing page. If we scroll down, we can see that Qt demo application directly on the website. So there's a sketch recognition. At the top is the code, and I can draw here. I will get an output here. So the Gradio application in a nutshell is we have an input, it does some processing, and then we have an output. This processing can be a speech recognition model, it can be a sketch recognition, it can be a chatbot, any kind of model that you want to fit inside is going to be in the process, and then it will output a result. So if you demo projects from the website that you can build using Gradio, we've already seen the sketch recognition. There is a time series forecasting that can give you graphs, and you can have drop downs. There is a classifier, so you can classify different items. There's also a chatbot that you can build using Gradio. Now if you go all the way up, you will see a get started page. Click on it. This will open the start guide page where you will be able to see instruction on what is Gradio and how to get started, how to install it. Now Gradio itself is a Python package, so you can use pip install Gradio to install Gradio on your machine. I will recommend to install it inside a virtual environment. This way, if you are adding pytorch or tensorflow into your project for your machine learning model, it will be encapsulated in that virtual environment. Okay. To get started, create a folder or a project structure. In my case, I've created a folder called Gradio application, and I've opened it using Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE. So the first thing to do would be to install Gradio. We'll go into terminal at the top, click on new terminal. To create a virtual environment, you can do python-m venv, and then you can give it your virtual environment a name. In my case, I'm using .venv. The dot in front of venv is just to hide it when I'm browsing my file explorer. If you're using a Mac or Linux, you may have to do python3-m venv, and then your virtual environment name. Also, if you have two different Python versions in your system, so Python 3.10 or 3.11 or 12, then to use a particular Python version, you will need to check your path environment variables in order to know which name to use. Now, in my case, if I use Python, it will install a virtual environment for Python 3.10. In order to get Python 3.11, I will have to do py-m and then venv.venv. So I'm going to create the virtual environment. It's going to take some time. I will probably speed up this part. So on the left, you can see that the virtual environment has been created. In order to activate the virtual environment, you will need to type in your virtual environment name, scripts, and then activate. Press enter. Your terminal should tell you whether or not you are within the virtual environment. In my case, I can see .venv in front, which tells me that I'm within the virtual environment. Now, one thing to do whenever you create a virtual environment is to upgrade the pip version, and you can do so by using this command. Next, you want to install the different libraries that you will be using for your project. Now for this demo, I'm going to be using Gradio, and I will simulate having a backend, so a machine model in the backend. I will not be writing any code for the model itself. I will use simple print statement or just output it on the screen to simulate that some processing was done and we were able to get an output. So my only dependency for this particular project will be to install Gradio, which will be pip install Gradio. This will take some time. I will speed up this part. Okay, so in my case, Gradio was successfully installed. Now, if you find errors or any error messages in your terminal, let me know in the comments down below, and I will try to help you. One of the common errors that we see whenever we are installing Gradio is typing extension. Right now, I have the typing extensions 4.8.0, but sometimes when you install a different different library such as TensorFlow. You may find that TensorFlow will be using a different typing extensions version. In that case, you will need to uninstall this version and install the particular version that is required. Now next, let's test if Gradio was successfully installed. We'll do this by creating a new Python file. We'll name it app.py. This is usually the convention to name it app.py. Whenever you have a script, you will name it main.py. In Gradio's case, we use app.py. Next, we import Gradio. I am importing Gradio as GR, as that is the convention. You will be doing a lot of Gradio components, text or inputs. So instead of typing Gradio, we just do gr. Now, the first thing that Gradio will require is an interface. Next, the interface will require a function. I'm going to leave this blank right now and we'll come back to it later. This function can be anything. It can be with speech recognition, it can be a video converter, it can be capturing from a webcam. The next thing that we need is inputs. What are the inputs for that particular function? And it is inputs with an S. And lastly, the main part that we need is outputs. So what will the function return? So let's create a function. Let's just say hello world for now. The function will take a name as the parameter. The name will be of type string, and type is very important when we are talking in Gradio. So the Gradio inputs will require specific type, and these types will be passed into the parameters here. Now in this case, I just want to return a simple string, so I will do return an F string. We'll say hello, then the name. We'll go down in the function. I will say hello world. Make sure to not call the function. You do not want to put parentheses here. You just want the reference to the function. Now in the inputs can take a simple plain text, so a literal, or it can also take a list of strings. Now in this case, since we only have one parameter, I will be using the literal format and will specify that the input will be of text type. The output as well, again, we have only a string that we are returning from the function, so I will do text here. Now this is the Gradio interface, and this interface will create all the necessary thing that the web UI will require. So the input, the output will be displayed in the web page for you. You don't have to code any HTML, any CSS or JavaScript, nothing like that. Now usually by convention, whenever we are creating the Gradio application, we'll name this as demo or app. Then on the next line, we'll say demo.launch like this. This will launch the web UI. You will get the link, you can open it and see the web application. So I'm going to go down to the terminal. We'll clear the terminal, and to run the application, I can do python app.py. If you name your Python file a different name, then you will have to do Python name of your application. Okay, so in the terminal, it is telling us that the Gradio application is running on the local URL. So if we control and click on the link, it will open the link. You can also do full link. This is only for Visual Studio Code. If you do not have the option to control click, you can highlight it, Control C to copy, or you may have to right click and choose copy, and go into your browser and paste that link over there. This will open the Gradio application. And as you can see right now, we have name. This name is referring to the name parameter that we've added in our function. And this is our input field. The output is what Gradio gave us. We said a text, so it gave us a text field. So if I say hello and I put in my name, I click on submit, you will see it says hello Shervin over there. Now Gradio gave us this interface, and we don't have to code anything. It will give us the clear button, the submit button, as well as a flag button. The flag button is whenever you have a model, you want to flag some variation, some things that you do not want in your model that you want to pay attention or you want to review later on. Then you click on the flag. Depending on the application, it may take a screenshot, it may save an image, or it may save it as a CSV file. Then you can go in, review the flag folder. The flag folder will be in your Gradio application project, and you'll see flag. Inside, you will be able to see the .csv or images or anything that was flagged by the Gradio application. Now, in the terminal, you will see that the application is still running. So to cancel or close the application, simply closing the browser will not turn off the application. You will have to close your terminal, or you can press Ctrl+C to cancel and close the server. Now, if you go back to the documentation, and if you have Gradio installed globally on your system, in your local system, then you can also do Gradio app.py, which will launch the Gradio application in a reload mode. Therefore, when you make changes to your application, you will be able to see that those changes directly into your Gradio application without having to cancel the server and then start the server again. Next, let's take the example of instead of just passing name here, we want to pass in a first name and then a last name. Now, to avoid confusion, I'm going to remove the type hints, but just know that these are going to be string, and for string we need to pass in text as the type. So I'm going to change the function definition. So hello world, first name, last name, I will say return hello as the first name, space, then last name. Now, because we have two inputs now, we'll need to use a list, and inside the list we can define what are the different inputs type that we are going to have. Now, in this case, the first one, the first name, is of type text, and the second one is also of type text. So I will need to put the type text and then the literal string text for the second one as well. I'm going to save it, go back and do python app.py again, and I will refresh my Gradio application. Once it's launched, I can do just input some values in there, click on submit, and you can see it is taking both input parameters into consideration and outputting our result. Okay, so similarly, if you need to return multiple outputs, then you will need to change your function definition. Instead of returning just one item, you will return multiple items. And the way to do it is in Python, when you have a function that is returning multiple outputs, you will return a tuple or a tuple. So in this case, I'll modify the function definition again and put in parentheses just to make clear that we are returning a tuple. I'm returning a first value, comma, and then a second value. Then in my interface, I will have to define that I am outputting two values. So I will again do a list with the first index being the text, because that's the first output. And then the second index or the second value being last name. I will close it, restart my server, refresh my page, and we can test it. And as you can see, we have output 0, output 1, which is corresponding to the return values of our function. Now, like I said at the beginning, this function can be anything, can be some kind of speech recognition, can be doing pandas, data frame manipulation, and doing some machine learning or deep learning algorithm in there, then returning some kind of values. Then this value is what we are passing to the output. Whatever the user is inputting is getting passed to the inputs, and whatever is returning is the outputs. In between, we have the processing part, and that is your model. Okay, so we've seen the type or the literal text, but there's also different types. So we have audio, we have images. Let's take an example here. So I'm going to change my inputs parameter to the literal image, and I will change the output as well to image. And I will restart my server, go back to my Gradio application and refresh, and you will see automatically Gradio will take care of giving you a drop box where you can drop images there. You can also click to upload, and on the right side where we have our output, it will also display the image output there. Now, of course, in our processing part, the function, we need to handle the image input and we'll need to handle the image output. Now, because this is just a demo, I'm going to copy an example from the quick start page from the Gradio website. And this demo, this example is using NumPy. So I will need to go into my terminal. I will install the NumPy library. So you can do so by doing pip install NumPy. This will take some time. It's possible that you already have it. Once that is done, I will save my file, go back into the terminal and restart the server. Now go back to the Gradio application interface, web application, refresh the page. If your web page or your web browser is caching the page, then you can press on Control key, press F5 to do a refresh. Okay, so I took a screenshot of my webcam and got a picture. I drag and drop the picture, the image in the input field. Click on submit. It will apply this CPR effect to the image and output the image. And as you can see, we did not have to do anything. thing. We just dropped the image there, did some processing. The function took care of that, and then the Gradio API took care of outputting and displaying the image in our web interface. Now, similarly, if you go into the documentation, you will see that there are different types of inputs. So we can have images, data frame, video, label. If you go up, there are different examples that you can use. You can just copy the example, paste it in your file, save it, and restart your server just to see how these examples will display in the web interface. Gradio does provide some debugging APIs. So in this case, I've added import time at the top, and I'm using gradio.info to tell the application that we are starting the process. We also have a gradio.warning, and there's also one that says gradio.error, and you will need to raise this whenever you have an error. So if I restart my application, and pay attention here, I have import time. I'm doing time.sleep. This is just to simulate that the processing is taking some time. We go back to the interface and refresh. I'll import an image, click on submit, and see on the top right here, we see that it's taking some time. The first time, Gradio will cache the number of seconds or minutes that the agent took to process for the function to complete. And if I click on submit again, it will tell me that the previous one took 2 seconds and this one is taking 2 seconds as well, because it's just a time.sleep. Now, if I go back to the terminal now, you will see that the gr.info, we have the starting process, there's the warning, and then the process completed at the bottom. Okay, so let's make as if we have a different application, and that application requires a text box that's 5 lines, because the user will need to input a paragraph instead of just 1 word or 2 words. So in that case, we cannot just say the literal text, because that is predefined to have only 1 line as the input field. Instead, we have to go into the Gradio, and we can go into components, or we can go into the text box. And the text box is a class which has different fields already defined. So one of these is the number of lines. And as you can see, by default is 1. We can change this by doing lines equal to 5. And just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to restart the server, go back into the interface, refresh the page, and you will see our input box is 5 line tall. And of course, we can press enter and continue. It will continue to grow. But by default, it will be 5 lines tall. The output box is still 1 line. Now, if we go into the documentation, you can do this by pressing and holding on Control key, and then click on the text box. In Visual Studio Code, this will take you to the documentation, the source file, and we can see class text box. If we go down, these are all the values that you have that you can modify. So we've already seen lines. There's the max number of lines. There's a placeholder text that you can put, label, info. You can just take any of these. So for example, you can take placeholder, go into your application, put in the placeholder. Placeholder is of type string, so we'll need to put in a string here. So a text. You can save your application, restart it, go back to your Gradio application web interface, refresh, and you can see enter text as the placeholder. This text cannot be selected. Now similarly, you have info, you have label, so you can change the label and show a label. You can make the text box interactive, or you can disable the visibility as well. So you can make visibility as false. That label will be removed from the interface, and maybe by some function, whenever the user select a particular model, then you unhide that field. This is also possible. Now this video is running a little bit long here. I've been recording for about an hour. I will need to edit the video, so I'm going to leave you with one last, and that is to go into your virtual environment. So if you've installed a virtual environment, you follow the tutorial from the beginning, you can go into your virtual environment folder, go into the library folder, then site packages, and search for Gradio. You will see a folder there. Open that folder, you will see another folder called components, and inside components you will see all the Gradio components that you can use. So we've already seen the text box component, but as you can see, we have slider, radio, plot, number, we have image, HTML, gallery, color picker, code block as well. My advice to you is to just click on anyone. Let's say you want image, go into it, see the class image, what you can do with it. You will get a description on the top. You will see all the values in the the init that you can modify. These are the parameters you can modify when you are doing gr.image, and then for example, you can change the shape of it, you can change the color, you can invert the color, set the invert color to true, and that is just to handle the image input. You can do the same for sliders. So if you want to know how to use sliders, you can do that. I will be making more videos on Gradio in the future, but for now, I hope this was beneficial to you guys. You were able to get a good introduction on how to use Gradio and really understand that Gradio is a way to demo a Python application. As long as the Python application will follow the input process and then output structure, you can use Gradio to show web interface for that particular application. Now, as a final note, I'm going to show you a project I've done in Gradio. Okay, so I've opened a terminal. I will cd to the project directory, and as you can see, this is a Gradio application. I have multiple files. I was experimenting with it. If I do Python, I'll need to activate the virtual environment. If I do Python, and I'll need to do the background remover Gradio one. Let's start it. Copy the link, go into your browser. I will copy the link and open the web interface. And this one is just a background remover. Now, I do not take credit for making the backend, so you can go to the GitHub page and install this project. But basically, this one is just a CLI where you need to do this RMBG. You pass in some command and then pass in an input image. You will get an image with the background removed. So if I try it with the same thing here, I'm just in here, put an input image field, have a slider for the alpha as well as a drop down for the different models that this particular project can use. In here, you can see that it is running and the result is without the background. So this is a quick project that I've done using Gradio just to show you that what are the different types that you can use. So even if you don't know the backend, if somebody else has written a backend API using, like, they've trained the model and they've published the code online, if the code is open source, you can always make a web interface for that particular project. So take it as a challenge. Once you've understood the basic on how to display the output image or output audio, video, you can do pretty much anything. You can do like a video converter, even though that has nothing to do with machine learning. As long as you can input a video, you can do some processing with it and you can output another video. It will follow the Gradio pattern. So you can use Gradio to build a front end for that particular project. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. Thank you for watching until the very end, and have a nice day.